So, I recently been wanting to learn Croesus, the new skilling boss in RuneScape. I know it's not new anymore, but you get the point. It's the most recent group activity in the game. But I'm scared. And I'm not the only one. And I think that is definitely an issue. And I think there's actually a larger issue at hand with group bosses anyway. Let's get into it. Yo, what's going on guys? My name's Chivalric here, and today we're going to be talking about group bossing in RuneScape 3 and why I think it's actually an issue. If you're going to enjoy this video, consider giving it a like, it really helps me out. Subscribe for more content if you're interested, and definitely give me your opinion in the comment section down below, because I don't know if you guys share my opinion on this, or if I am completely wrong, and please tell me, but just in a polite way, okay? So, as I said, group bossing, and I think it's being an issue in RuneScape. And why I'm saying that is because recently in-game I've been seeing a lot of, oh, I really want to learn X boss, like Solak or Croesus or Farago or any group boss, but it's mainly Croesus recently because of the skilling activity, and, you know, it is actually good money as well. And I see a lot of people that have to pay to learn a boss. Because people's like, oh yeah, if you pay me like this amount of money, I will actually teach you the boss. Which I think is really bad. And I know, I'm fully aware that paying to learn bosses has been around for a very long time, ever since the first group boss have been introduced. And I know not everyone teaches group bossing for money. Like, I'm fully aware of that fact, okay? Like, I know that not everyone is like this, but I've been seeing it a lot in game, and I actually have been talking to a lot of players that are on my skill level, so they know what to do in the game, they are aware of what's going on, but they're not great or something. They're not amazing players, or they're not high level players, they're not in clans or whatever. And they're actually like, hey, do you know someone who can teach me Croesus or Farago or any of like the group bosses that are currently in the game? And I'm like, no, not really. And I asked them, like, have you looked on Reddit or Discord or whatever? It's like, yeah, but usually those people are either toxic or elitist, or they expect me to be really good, or at least at a certain skill level, or there's always something that they need before teaching the boss, instead of like, hey, look, I have gear, like I have tier 90 gear, I have ascensions, can I learn the boss? And I believe with that amount, like, I understand that there should be a minimum gear requirement. Like, I understand you can't just rock up in bandos or subjugation or whatever, but if you have like tier 90 gear, like, someone should be able to teach you, and you should be able to kill the boss. Like, seriously, that should be a thing. You don't need 17 switches, I believe, to learn any boss in RuneScape. That would be stupid. But especially with Croesus, and I think that is mainly the focus for me on this video, seeing a lot of people like, okay, you know what, I have the skills to do Croesus, but, you know, I can't do it because I don't know how to do it, and I don't want to join a public instance because there's a lot of accounts of toxicity in them, and I don't want to deal with that. And you can say, okay, you can just put private on off, but I believe you actually need to communicate during the kill as well. So it just puts you in a very awkward position to learn group bosses. And I think Croesus especially is a very good example of how Jagex missed the mark on group bosses, or at least group skilling bosses. In old school RuneScape, you also have skilling bosses like Wintertot, you have Volcano, and you have Tempros. I mean, Tempros you can solo as well. I mean, you can solo the other two as well, but they're more beneficial to do in groups. But the simplicity of those bosses are so apparent that you could just watch a guide, and, you know, because there's so many people there, it's not a problem if you mess up, because, you know, people are there, and like, your mess ups will not affect the team. And that is the case with a skilling boss like Croesus. Like, if you mess up, you can really affect the team, and, you know, that could affect not being able to get a kill, not being able to get a one cycle, you know, whatever. Like, it affects, like, it actually has an impact, which is a good thing, because that means you can't just leech kills, and you can't just be present and make a lot of money. Like, that is a good thing in my opinion. But that also causes a lot of issues with, you know, it's difficult for people to get into the boss, especially now when, you know, the hype died down of the boss. Like, not a lot of people, like, there are a lot of people doing it, but they're not like massive amounts of people like on release that you can just join and everyone is clueless. No, everyone knows what's going on, and if you're the dissonant of the people that are even in public lobbies, and I'm pretty sure the majority are in instances, so you need to find a team anyway, but if they're public lobbies, then, you know, you're the person there that's messing up, and you're the reason why we're not getting kills, and people get angry of that, and people get annoyed, and, you know, people might leave the world or be toxic, and that is not good. And yet again, I do understand the frustration of people, of someone new being, you know, there to mess up your kill, because actually people probably exploit that as well and grief you doing that. So I know there's a very, very, very fine line of that, but I think it's very toxic. And I think the major problem of this all is having to pay in a video game to learn a boss. And I understand it's a massive multi-online role-playing video game, blah, 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 blah. I get it. Like, you need to play with other people. Like, I'm not saying group bosses shouldn't be a thing. They definitely should be a thing, because I think it's good content and I think it's great. Like, I generally think that all group bosses in this game are great content. Like, I'm not hating on it. That's not the issue. The issue is getting into group bossing, and for the regular player, the normal player, the average Joe player, it's impossible to get into. And it's very scary, because you hear about the toxicity, you hear about having to pay to learn, and then people are just like, yeah, you know what, I will not interact with this content. And I think that's bad. I think that should not be the reason why you should not interact with the content. I think you should not interact with content because you think it's difficult, or if you think it's, you know, out of your league, or something you do not enjoy, something that is your opinion or your feeling with the content, and not someone else's input, because, you know, you don't want to pay 14 mil to learn a boss and then, you know, maybe not get taught properly, or get scammed, or, you know, anything like that, or, you know, be surrounded by toxic people. Like, I'm not here to be insulted by some neckbeard that is sweaty and that has like 17 switches in his inventory and plays like 14 hours a day, even though recently I've been playing a lot of hours. But that's besides the point. I'm not here to be flamed by them, bro. Like, I'm not. And you could say like, oh, you should just not care. I get it, but I think that is just a problem, and I think Kroos has missed the mark with it. With like, I thought a skilling boss, group boss, cool, I get it, but it's actually quite difficult and complex to learn. I know it's quite easy when you understand it, but it's complex to learn, and that causes the same issues as with other group bosses. But I do think I have a solution. Yes, I actually do think I have a solution for this problem. How about having a practice mode, right? Hear me out. I know there are practice modes. What about having a practice mode with bots? Like actual bots or NPCs that do the boss kill for you or with you, but you just do not get any loot. That way you can learn the mechanics in a very safe place, like a, you know, like a practice mode, but you also will not be able to benefit from it or be able to abuse it. And then, but people will probably say, oh, well, then I'm using supplies. Well, I think that's a trade-off you need to take. You know, I'm not going into a public instance. I'm not paying 14 mil. I'm not dealing with toxicity because I'm learning it in a safe space. I'm learning this with NPCs. And I know that this might not work with Solak or Farago or like group bossing, but I think this could be a solution for Kroos, like a skilling boss. And this could be applied to any other skilling bosses if they ever do that, or any other boss in general. Have NPCs enable so that you can actually learn the boss. Like, so with Kroos, I think it's the most efficient to do with 8 players, but people can do it with 4. So have the boss instance, like the practice mode, 8 players, and then at like in the selection menu you can say, okay, I will be a woodcutter, or I will be a miner, or have a selection menu so you can learn a role for Kroos in a safe place. And yet again, you won't get loot. You might not even learn how to one cycle it or just whatever, but you know what to do. Like, you know the basic mechanics, and then you can go into the public instance with some actual base knowledge. You're not going in fully blind and, you know, having that gap, that like, you know, that first step that you need to take is just smaller. And yes, I know this won't solve the issue completely. Like, people will still be toxic, people will still, you know, be angry about things that happen in a video game. Bro, shut up. Like, seriously, just shut up. But I think that could really, really help. And I don't know, like, I'm not too good at bossing, like the group bossing like Solak or Farago or whatever, to tell you if it actually would work there as well. But I do think it will work at Kroos. Like, I'm very, very positive that something like this, a instance practice mode with NPCs to learn Croesus. That I think that could work. And I really think that Jagex need to look into it, because right now Croesus is in a horrible place. I've seen so many people talking about, oh, I want to learn Croesus, and then it's like, oh yeah, I can teach for 40 mil, and that should not be the case. That is toxic. That is such an opportunity for scamming, and it's just horrible. That's not a part of a good video game. And I'm sorry if you just heard my Discord. But anyway, I want to know your opinion on this subject. Leave a comment in the comment section down below with what you think, because I'm very, very curious. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you have better ideas? Do you think my take is absolutely nonsense? Just let me know. But if you did enjoy this video, consider giving me a like. As I said at the beginning, it really does help me out. Subscribe if you're new. There will be more content, a mix between Pokemon and RuneScape. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, definitely subscribe. Follow my Twitch, and if you made it to this video, just comment something like pigs in blankets because it's Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone. And thank you very much for listening to my rumbling. Much love. My name's Chivalric, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.